welcome guys to our second episode of Journey of a Pro Wrestler. I am your host Andy, and I am joined by my guest as always, the start of our show, Kid Bandit. How we doing, Kid?
Great. I'm actually doing pretty good. I have to lie about that this time.
I was just going to say that I seen you were trending on Twitter yesterday, wasn't you?
Yeah, that's surreal. I was trending more so than the NBA, which was pretty cool. I never thought that would happen, you know?
It's what you want though, mate. That's what we want, and that's what we like to see. And what was it all about? Just so the guys can understand and hopefully help us get it going again.
So it was I was on the latest episode of AEW Dark, and people were just like, yeah, Kid Bandit's fast. Like, hey, why don't I see if I could, nudge everyone to say if because I started trending, but it was just Kid Bandit trending, and I was like, what? That's weird. Let's see if I can get a hashtag behind it. So I was like, all right, screw it. Let's go with the generic hashtag sign Kid Bandit. And it took off, and I'm like, oh my god! Like,
well, hopefully Tony Khan was watching and he takes the advice on board.
Honestly, and I mean, I didn't get as much of a brilliant, radiant performance as I had hoped. In my perspective, I've been told it wasn't that bad, but when you're the artist, you're a perfectionist. So it wasn't my most glorious showcase, but it was, but the fact that people want to see more is kind of like, oh, that's a nice little redeeming quality for it, considering I didn't do that great in my opinion, So
but you're always going to say that though, aren't you? At the end of the day, people are always their own worst critic, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think it's a good problem to have. It's better than just being like, whatever, I don't care.
Well, that's the thing, and if you keep on doing it like that, then you're always going to get better, aren't you? You know what I mean?
That's the hope, yeah. Shit, man, I was overwhelmed backstage because I looked at I was in the ring with Daniel Garcia, who just won Bola recently, so I was like, oh. Wow, I can't believe that. Also, I can believe that,
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that probably in later episodes. Some of the stuff with AEW After Dark and whatnot. So obviously in future episodes when we get to that part of the journey, but we're not quite there yet, are we?
Yeah.
So we'll go back. Hiya, Courtney. Courtney said you did your best and she loved your Dark match. Your tag match on Dark. Brilliant. So we're gonna go back to where we left off last week. Joining the Nightmare Factory, obviously you started training there. So when you got there, how did you get selected to go to the Nightmare Factory? You said did you just go there, or did they put you through a kind of process?
It was a little bit of a process, a little bit of a vetoing session. I found out about it through Brooke Havoc, who was my friend on Facebook before she was Brooke Havoc. So it was her shoot name, which I don't even remember because now she's just Brooke Havoc to me, But yeah, I saw that she posted. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I want to do that. And so I hit up my best friend Ish, who I was in AEW with recently. Yeah, full circle. You love to see it. And I told him, hey, bro, I have a friend on Facebook who went to the Nightmare Factory. You should really look into this. And we both did. We both made a move to Georgia for a couple of months just to keep training at to follow our dreams to become professional wrestlers. And yeah, it was we went on email back and forth. I wasn't sure I was gonna get accepted because I don't bring anything crazy cool to the table, but they got back to me and they said so I paid my tuition and off I was to Georgia. And one of the most exciting and nerve-wracking things I've ever done, because it was also one of those okay, so this is cool, right? But it's also now I'm surrounded by it's real now, I bumped in the ring before, but I've never bumped in a ring. And I saw I'm coming in here after watching the showcase, the first showcase of the Nightmare Factory. And this is right around the heels of Brooke debuting on AEW. Carly Bravo and Dean, they were both on AEW. TSF was on AEW, so we were coming in with the impression of, like, if we do really good, like, like Cody and Tony Khan might, like, in our case, it did kind of end up like that. We were in AEW a couple of times, so it's one of those things where, yeah, like you said, it became real as soon as we got there,
And did you just go there the once, or was it kind of a couple of times you had to go back before you got accepted into it?
The whole vetoing process was online, but when we were at the camp, QT made a comment about, like, how, we already know a lot about you guys. We made sure to, like, if you guys were trained before we went to your guys' trainers, asked them about you guys. We were like, oh, so I assume I wouldn't know exactly what they do when they're vetoing people. I have a kind of a vague idea how they would do it, and yeah, it's one of those things where they don't tell you they don't tell you what they do. So I can't. And I think even if they did tell me, I don't think they'd want me to just spill the beans. I mean, I would if I knew, but I won't because I don't.
And in terms of the when you got there, and how many people were in your group?
I believe 19. There was 19 of us. We got a couple more people come in halfway through, but they both got injured, actually, which, let me knock on wood real quick.
Yeah. And is any of the other guys that were in the camp with you now, are they in? Have they gone on to AEW, into Dark, or anything else like that?
So my obviously, right from the top of my head, is my tag team partner Ish, who I was on Dark with. He and I actually came from, like, Santino Brothers here in Los Angeles, and we went to the Nightmare Factory together. There's a JDX who was on TV on Dark before actually completing the camp, because he was just that damn good. He looked TV ready, he presented TV ready, so he was just TV ready, as it were. Right after him, it was Joey Silver. We call him Sweet Cheeks, because he has sweet cheeks on his trunks. So, it's nice. I'm sorry. So yeah, Sweet Cheeks was there. We call him Mr. Consistent, because every match he did in camp was just consistently great. Yeah. And I'm Brandon Gore, who main evented my camp showcase. He, probably, like, the most excellent, like, all around complete package in wrestling right now, in the indies, at least in my opinion. He was in camp, and he was on Dark a couple of times. And after that, we did get, like, a couple of, like, older campers, like Camp 1, Camp 2. They were in our showcase. And Carly Bravo, who's been around AEW a bunch of times. I believe he's part of, like, Overkill with Zicky Dice, in the southern indies. Yeah, so we have those people claiming the fame from our side of the camp, and I think it's pretty cool, because, like, they you appear in AEW more than one time, people think that you're like a big deal, because it's like, oh, so, like, they're getting a second, a third, fourth look. Damn, so it definitely is something.
When you joined the Nightmare Factory and you got in there, how long was it before you started having communication with Cody and QT? Was it kind of straight away, or did they warm to you over time?
The first thing I saw as soon as I walked into the building was Cody Rhodes pumping weight, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And my tag team partner Ish looks behind me. He's like, "Don't mark out." I'm like, "I'm sorry, dude. I'm gonna mark out, dude. That's Cody freaking Rhodes right there." Yeah. So that was the first thing. Said hi to them, and they were finishing their workout. We got there early, and we were just chilling. Just chilling, trying to see who else the other campers were. I've never debuted yet, so I haven't shared any locker room with other wrestlers. I've done ring crew, but you're not backstage, like, messing around there. You're hanging out with your friends and all that stuff. So this would be pretty much my first locker room I'm sharing with, like, other workers, And there were some wrestlers in my group who haven't debuted yet. They just started too. They were like me, so it was kind of like we got lucky. Our group was filled with tremendous athletes who had none of the ego. We were all just on our own lane. driving our own destinations without like trying to step on each other. And I unfortunately can attest that is not always the case in wrestling in the indies. Some more often than not, you will be surrounded by people you'd rather not want to associate with. My camp was great in that, like, I love all of them. We all love each other. We all uplift each other, so we all share the same memes together, so that's how the kinship is real with them.
Yeah. Cool. And obviously when you got there, what was your relationship like with Cody over the time? Did he come over and give you a lot of advice, or was it just kind of little bits here and there?
I was shy. I'm still shy, and Cody is like shoot my favorite wrestler, so it's like I didn't want to it's funny because Cody was my favorite, but I spent more time with QT just because QT was just a little bit more accessible, because Cody also became a father during the course of my camp, so he had to dip, which is 100% understandable, right? You want to spend time with your newborn and all that stuff, so he dipped. And so I was under QT's wing, and he was accessible. 5 was accessible, 10 was there. So it wasn't like it wasn't like they held themselves to a different standard than they did. Obviously I know my place. I'm just a student. I'm not a signed talent, all that stuff. So yeah, we give them a little bit more of we venerate them a little bit, but it wasn't to the point where you couldn't. Yeah, it wasn't like high school where you need to raise your hand to go to the bathroom. No, it was like, oh yeah, if you have a question, just come ask, and they'll be there. Yeah.
And did you feel like, what was the best kind of advice that you got from them at the Nightmare Factory that kind of you remember that really helped you along your way?
That's a lot. I mean, there was so Glacier said something about the fans, and you're coming in there, you have 0 fans, right? So when Glacier said, yeah, fans live through you, what do you do in that ring? And now that I'm blowing up and I'm getting all these messages about yeah, I live through you, Bandit, I'm like, oh, I get what Glacier said now. I didn't get it then, but I got it now.
Got it now.
QT said, you get further along in this business if you're a good person than if you're a great wrestler. And I'm like, oh, okay, good to know. So uphold your values more than your actual craft. Obviously, have a standard for your craft, but don't value your capacity as a person based on how great you are wrestling compared to how good you are to people. So him saying that, I just kind of okay, that's some great advice. Cody always had great advice when it comes to promo work, how to conduct yourself backstage, all that stuff. How to come up to people if how to structure your match if say you're wrestling a veteran, instead of you saying, oh, let me do this, you should just be like, hey, okay, I get what you're trying to go for. However, is it okay if I add my spin to it, all that stuff? So that was a cool thing that Cody did for us. Let's see, we had Arn Anderson come in for a seminar, which I thought was the coolest. He talked about how what is old becomes new again. And and that's an advice I've heard multiple times, but hearing him say the same exact thing is oh, nope, yeah, it's absolutely whatever you say, Arn, and this is right before he did the Glock thing, so I was like, oh yeah. So it was cool. I guess one of the best advices I'm applying always on the road right now is from Baron Black, where he basically talked about how every promotion you come work for has specific things that you want. So it was either you get paid well, you have a good opponent, or you have great production and footage. And if you can get 2 out of 3 of those, then definitely consider doing it. If you're only getting 1 out of 3 of those, then maybe nah. If you're getting none of those, don't do it. And if you're getting 3 out of 3 of those, then you're lucky. 9 times out of 10, you won't get all 3, but if you get 2 out of 3, it's worth considering. So that's why right now I'm working the indie circuit, so that's why I've been applying the most. Is okay, as long as I hit those 3 things, I will consider working these promotions. And I'm younger in the sense that this is my debut year, so I just want to wrestle. I don't care where, I don't care who. I just want to be in that ring. I'll do what I can. I'll learn. and I'll meet people along the way, and that's my whole policy right now.
And when you were doing the training and stuff, was it more ring based, or as you said, I know you've done a bit of promo work. Did they help you with, like, kind of try and identify a character, the character that you've built for yourself and stuff? Did they help you along the way with that?
Yeah. In fact, they do it so well to the point where they look at you individually. They don't look at you as a group, which that's always like so. In my case, I've had training matches under my belt. I've never wrestled in front of people, but I've had a little. I know how to do moves. I know how to run the ropes, all that stuff. Whereas some people, they've never run the ropes before. They've never done this. They've never done that. So all of this is new to them. So like now we separate. You kind of separate. You put yourself in and you gauge your own skill level and you go accordingly. But the coaches understand. Okay, so like we got let me use Lord's Warrior. He was a part of my camp. He was newer. He was built, but he wasn't. He wasn't conditioned for cardio as far as wrestling is concerned. So every time we see his matches, we look at it and understand that, okay, so like who are we working with? We're Lord's Warrior, great. They're newer, So and we avoid that whole trap of like in the indies. I feel like in the indies we uphold everybody at the same standard. Oh, well, if you're an indie wrestler, you should be able to do this. You should be able to do that. You should be able to, and it's kind of weird if you can't, especially like the more name value is added to you, the less like lower, like the less, like the more people expect out of you, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But Lord's Warriors never really bumped before, so when we looked at him, we're like, oh, okay, we understand what kind of wrestler they're going for, and we factor in the fact that they're newer, and we get to people get to critique Lord's Warrior based on what they're trying to do, rather than in a universal scale, if that makes sense. Which it makes you better as you, not necessarily as an all-around wrestler. Because let's be honest, not everybody should strive to be an all-around wrestler, but not everybody will be.
So, some of the people at the top never was. But they're still very successful.
Yep. So, and they're successful because they zoned in on what they were great at already and built upon that. Like Bryan Danielson backflips every match, but we don't look at Bryan Danielson as a flipper, because they put all their stock in the technical aspect of their style. So, but hey, I don't see Rey Mysterio doing a backflip every match, but he's considered the acrobatic high flyer. Bryan Danielson, on the other hand, climbs the top rope and does a running back parkour backflip every match, or most of the times he does that. That's like a staple of his offense, right? So, but it's the way you present yourself, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. Yeah, no, I totally get it. And just one more thing with the training and stuff like that. Was you trained to wrestle and obviously promo work and stuff? Did they teach you kind of with regards to production in terms of where to place yourself for cameras and do all that stuff, or was it just wrestling that you done?
No, we actually learned the TV style, which is great because we were learning from people with insurmountable amounts of TV experience. Like, we're literally being coached by people on TV weekly, so it's like sick. I been trained a little bit to work hard cam, to work with cameras. It's not that often because in the indies, you're not working TV, you're working the crowd around you. But now in the Nightmare Factory, it's all about the camera, because we're using the same, like, one of the rings that we have is the same ring that they use for, it was the same ring that they used for AEW when the pandemic started. So they just filmed Dark at the factory, they had Dynamite, actually. They filmed Dynamite at the Nightmare Factory, so we use the 20x20 ring, the AEW uses, so there's a little bit of familiarity with it. But yeah, I thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah,
no, cool, definitely, because I mean, it's not a criticism of that, but sometimes when you see some of the AEW guys that come in, Eddie Kingston's probably a good example of it. Sometimes when he's giving promos and stuff when he first started, you can see him now to what he was then, and it's because he's done it the different way around. When he's come from indies and stuff and he's come into a television, you can see how he's progressed over the time. You know, he was still good at the beginning. I love Eddie Kingston. I think he's always great. Yeah. But it's like seeing him at the beginning and seeing him now, and you can see the total difference in the way he positions himself, the way he talks into the camera, the way he uses the microphone. All this stuff it's progressed so much. Where if you're getting that from the start, and you know, it's gold, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my video stopped because like somebody tried to call me right now.
No, you're still here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if Eddie Kingston, I want to say is a great example for that. And the way, like, I can't critique because I'm new, you know, but I did pick up some of the, like, for the people who have been on the indies for a long time, there's a certain way you work the ring, you know, whereas if you're working like on TV, because I don't know if people know this, but the hard cam side, the one where they have like basically the audience members with their backs turned against the camera and like facing the ring, that side is usually not crowded. It's, you know, it's usually the side where there's not a lot of people at because they want to make the arena look big, so they fill everywhere else, but the side where the cameras don't really capture anything. So, with that being said, your first instinct as a wrestler or as an entertainer is to find where there's the most amount of people, and you play off that side. But you can't do that on TV because you always have to play the hard cam side. But the hard cam side is weird because there's no one there, or there's not a lot of people there. But you gotta remember the people watching at home or on their phone screen, they're your audience. So you're looking for the camera, which, you know, I still have ways to go because I don't do that. Like as much as I've been trained to do that, like to break the subconscious of working the big audience crowd versus the camera is it's still something I need to work on. That makes sense. Yeah.
So when you work in the indies, do you try and consciously work towards the hard cam still, or try and keep that style as much as you can, or do you just go, do you know what, fuck it, I'm in the indies, I'm gonna go?
It's a case by case thing. If I have a friend who could record my match with my phone, I work my phone camera. So I'm like, okay, I don't care where the show's hard cam is. I care where my phone is because my phone is the video footage I'm uploading online anyway. Yeah. As much. There's a lot of wrestlers who do that too. Surprisingly, they're like,
just say hello to me son Ashton. He's popped in. He's watching, and he's got a question for you if you don't mind. He said, "What anime do you watch?"
I like shonen. I watch right now. I think I'm in the middle of Record of Ragnarok, which is on Netflix. Because I was reading the manga. I read more manga than I watch anime, just because I'm impatient. I want to know what's next. You know, and sometimes it ruins the animes for you because I already know what's next. I don't know. So I unfortunately read My Hero way too ahead because I was impatient. So like now I don't have as much interest watching it. I'm sure it's great because like now it's animated and you can see things. But when you're coming into something where you know how the story goes, you're kind of like, you know.
Yeah. Well, he won't be watching no anime because he'll be going to bed very shortly because he's got school in the morning.
Right. I mean,
he said his favourite is Academia or Demon Slayer. Hero Academia and Demon Slayer.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those I think are like the next big two, right after Naruto and Dragon Ball.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so just to go back to that, thanks for answering that for me, mate.
Yeah, right.
When you were at the factory, obviously this is what this episode's about, your time at the factory, and then obviously next week we move on to the next part. Any strict schedule in terms of diet, or, you know, when you had to be there and everything else like that?
I mean, yeah, it's not strict in that, oh, if you're not here at a specific time, you're kicked out. It's more of like, they were chill about it, but you're only going to get your money's worth depending on how much work you're putting in.
Yeah.
And so if you're gonna move halfway across the nation and you're only gonna show up twice a week, it's like, oh, well, it's kind of counterproductive now, isn't it? You know. So in my case,
what was the schedule like there per day?
It was about 4 hours of like work every day, 2 hours of in-ring stuff, 2 hours of conditioning and weightlifting, and it was 4 days a week. Outside of that, you're more than welcome to like train on your own. You can work weekend shows if you want. You can go to your own gym. We did have a nutritionist, and she was very instrumental in like teaching us what kind of right foods to eat. I had religiously kept up with my meal prep when I was in town. Now, not so much, but I'm working on it. Yeah, I mean, it definitely helped make me lean. You know, I was running my fastest miles around that time. You know, and it was like you're training to be an Olympic athlete without the pressure of needing to be an Olympic athlete. And I think that was the coolest thing. It's like you have all your resources ready for you in case you want to take it to the next level, but there's no one out there telling you need to get to the next level except for yourself. So it's all on you.
Well, it needs to be you, doesn't it? If you're not telling yourself, then no matter if someone tells you, unless you're wanting to do it yourself, you're never going to get there, are you?
Yeah.
You know, what's that age-old saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yep, absolutely.
So, what was the last bit of this episode, and then we're going to wrap it up, kid? What was the exposure like from the factory? Did you kind of feel like it was kind of both at one time, or...?
Yeah, this one's weird. I became a meme when Cody posted his the photo of all of us in the group, and I was there in front row with my hair done, and I became a meme. And I was a meme before I debuted. My debut match was 5th in the card, and the meme was blowing up within match 2, and I'm like, shoot, damn, all right. Now my phone's, you know, and now I'm not much of a stranger to like my phone blowing up about going viral, because it's happened a couple of times. But it's one of those things where it's like, oh, that was like the very first time it's ever happening, and I haven't even debuted yet. There's a lot of pressure leading into this. I gotta make sure this match is good, and it was. I was proud of my debut. Could have been better, but we're all our own worst critics. But yeah, I think it was one of those things too, where it's like I'm excited. I was way too excited for my debut that if it didn't happen, if I didn't get that exposure, which kind of blew up, and like it was like a rocket strapped to my back. Now people know who I am, you know. It was one of those things where... Yeah.
I suppose that works two ways though, doesn't it? You know, you've got some wrestlers, by the time they do get to the big stages or they start getting this type of exposure, they've already made the mistakes and kind of learned the craft in the background without any kind of eyes on them. Where, you know, obviously you've had some exposure, but at the same time, you're having to, you know, you're very infancy in your career, but you haven't, you're performing on a big spotlight, you know.
Yeah, I get you, man. I don't have the luxury of like the intimate setting to make these mistakes. All the mistakes I make from here on out will be under a lot more eyes, which a lot of them are forgiving. I'm learning that now. Especially when I harp on the fact I've only been doing this for 7 months. Please bear with me. but a lot of them are forgiving, which I appreciate, but not. I don't want to get in the habit of like, oh, they'll forgive me if I botch this. I'm only like 5 months in. Nah. Yeah. Right now, yeah, sure, it's a good excuse. It's a good little thing to like use as a crutch. But there comes a time where that excuse won't fly anymore, and you just have to be good. And you won't get good if you keep having that safety net. You know, it's something like. Yeah. It's not bad to have. it's not bad to have training wheels if you need them, but there will come a time I'm gonna have to ride that bike without them, and I have to be ready. So,
yeah. Good. Okay, well, guys, thanks for watching, Kid. Thanks as always, mate. Always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure and very insightful. Just want to say thanks to Matt D, Jet Cross, Courtney, Ashton, and all the guys that have watched us tonight. We always appreciate everybody. Warren Davis as well, a few others that have made comments. And thanks to everyone who watches. Me and Kid will be back same time next week, where we continue the journey of a pro wrestler. Until then, guys, as I say, WrestleBuddy podcast will be Saturday, as we always are, and watch out for all our other bits and bobs. But until next time, go on Twitter and hashtag Sign Bandit. Until then,
yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you so much.